Good morning, Juan Carlos Benitez, the Republican Party of Guam chairman. Good morning, Juan. Unmute, unmute.
Good morning and a warm happy day to you all.
Right on. And where do we have the pleasure of speaking with you from? Where are you at this morning?
Yeah, actually, this morning I'm in New York City.
New York City. Well, thanks for
But I
joining
have
us.
I don't have no pace Tabasco sauce with me though.
Yeah, guys, that might have went over some of your heads. Just Google it. It's an old commercial.
Yeah,
Right,
I know that commercial.
I know you do.
Because I'm old.
Yeah, exactly. I guess we'll just get right into it, Juan Carlos. I know you're buddies with the congressman. Do we have that picture? Sir, let's pop that up. But I did want to ask about this investigation. And no, I'm not even. I'm not hating. I mean, I think it's good when we get bipartisan partnership, right? Definitely, right? Because sometimes it's a little too partisan. And so we wanted to ask about this latest development with this ethics investigation, just because I know you know your way around the nation's capital. And so this it was a release of a report from the Office of Congressional Ethics. Let me correct myself. It was a partial release of a report from the Office of Congressional Ethics that was eventually forwarded last year to the House Ethics Committee. And it kind of looks like when they got this report, that's when they were like, okay, we need to form this subcommittee. And so this report basically, Bree, you want to go over it? No? Okay.
Sorry, I'm in a conversation with.
So it was basically a report, and it said that, yeah, the congressman, there's substantial reason to believe that he had accepted an over-the-limit donation for his campaign and also had converted campaign funds for personal use. But I think what was key in this report that was released was the substantial reason to believe. But, we're just outsiders looking in. You're more of an insider. What does that even mean, Juan Carlos?
Hey, give me just 1 second.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I'll introduce you to my son, Abe.
Hey,
Abe Benitez.
What's up, Abby? How about that dog?
But
Yeah. What's your dog's name?
the dog name is Daisy.
Daisy. Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
That's
No,
okay.
we love dogs and kids.
Yeah, he needs to do his assignment, so he's asking for his computer, which somehow had made it to be under my computer. So let's talk about the report, the partial report. I don't see any surprise here. There's nothing that we had not been informed before, or media had not somehow found its way to the media. But it is something that I think he's already trying to address, right? The main document refers to the acceptance of overpayment from campaign limits, and then I think some allegations of maybe the expenditure or the manner that the funds were used for were not campaign related activities.
Right.
Am I correct?
You're correct in saying that it was nothing new, because you're right. These revelations had come out, but I think the only thing that was new about it was that it was in black and white, that the Office of Congressional Ethics had unanimously voted to forward this because they felt there was substantial reason to believe. But and then I know that I was actually the one who reported this donation, and then also reported the returning of it. So the congressman did return this over the limit donation, right, Juan?
Yeah, that is correct. So I don't know how they would not have found that there was a problem with the size of the donation when there was also an admission by the congressman that they had received the donation and it exceeded the amount, and then repayment. So that's not uncommon. It happens regularly in DC. It's if people are sort of holding their breath that this would be the reason why Democrats would vote to expel him from the Congress, this is nowhere near any of that. I think the main allegations that are concerning in that regards would be about the inappropriate relationships, which the report doesn't, the documents that were released don't speak anything about that.
Right.
So uh, on what it talks, I think it's common. After every election, presidential campaigns returns millions of dollars that are considered to have not been used for the appropriate, so they have to refund those. And as well as other congressional races. I still remember the congressman for Northern Virginia gave himself a loan from a bank that he had helped. So he had to return the money on the loan at the end of the day. But they just sort of tell you you're not supposed to do this, and there'll be a fine that's appropriate related to it. But outside of a fine, a financial fine, and I don't see a lot here. At the same time, I do have to say it's today it is a successful day for bipartisanship. I don't know if you guys saw the press briefing from the White House today, but during the briefing, the president expressed his support for earned income tax credit permanency and parity to the territories, especially towards Puerto Rico, and as well as for the child's tax credit. So those are two of the big initiatives that the congressman and the Republican Party have been fighting to be included in the package, and that it's coming out. So we're very excited to see that it's now it has the full support of the White House, which gives us that would be around $70 million a year for Guam at a minimum. That would be coming back when this bill passes.
I wanted to go back to the campaign donation thing just real quick. So the congressman did return the donation, but it was only after it had been widely reported, and I want to say like a few months afterwards. But so where does it become like an FEC issue, right? So the Federal Election Commission looking at these campaign documents and these donations, and I know that he's gotten a lot of letters from the FEC. But so there's that, right? And then there's also just the House ethics stuff. So is there a point where the House Ethics Committee says, okay, this is an FEC issue, or are they just moving forward on like the ethical side of receiving an over the limit donation while the FEC runs kind of parallel? I don't know. I'm just asking because it to me, it's two separate
yeah, so it really could go on three different tracks, right? You could have the FBI doing their own investigation, and they do come regularly to DC to address specific cases during the April month period, and a lot of time you end up seeing them when there's individuals that make campaign contributions with the names of their employees when the employees have never done those donations, so that FBI will investigate and prosecute those through the Justice Department and the U.S. Attorney. The second one will be the Federal Elections Commission that is looking at the actual process. So I'm expecting a fine coming from the Federal Election Commissions regarding that process, the $10,000 donation, but it's gonna what the House is looking at is more on the ethical point of view on the individual. So you might have a fine for doing something wrong, but it might stain your reputation to a level that ethically they don't think that you should be in Congress, right? An example of a similar issue was in Colombia, when an elected official was associated, an elected member of their Congress was associated with the cartels, then the members of the Congress expelled him from the chamber. In Guam, it's a high bar to pass to be expelled from Congress. The last two people, well, let me see. Outside of these latest cases, when the rule was changed by the Democratic Party, to not permit any form of relationships with members of your staff consensually. So that was the big difference. Since that change has happened, I think there's been one person that got expelled, and the other one ended up they had a secret marriage. They were married to each other already. But prior to that, I think it was 1981 where a Republican member of Congress was expelled because he had sexual relationships with a minor, with a page that was, I think, 18 at the time. And at the same time, there was a Democratic congressman that had a sexual relationship with a male page on the same age, and the Democratic Party did not expel him. So you see the old bar, you're looking now at the new bar after the Me Too movement, and reality that those standards can no longer be accepted. Is at zero tolerance level. So in that regard, that's very strict.
Yeah.
But when it goes at finances, I still think the bar is in order to be expelled, it's extremely high, or we could see the other way. The bar is very low to what you cannot do.
Let's move along. I guess there's really, I mean, it's just kind of a waiting game, right? For maybe either the further release of documents or the conclusion of the investigation.
Well, you know, for me, it's you look at what's being submitted so far. I don't think that there's nothing so far that I think that is really high there at the bar level. We'll see as we move in through the other allegations and the documents are released by the committee.
Right. And what about a challenger to the congressional delegate? Didn't work out so well for you guys last election. What are we looking at from the Republican side, delegate to Congress in 2022?
Well, it was a three-way race.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have a number of individuals that have already approached the party, that they have expressed interest in running for Congress, and I will let them decide when they want to announce publicly their run. But we are
Male or female?
working and talking to them both.
Both. Oh.
Previously served
Well,
in
I
an
don't know if I
elected
can say
position?
these days. I don't know if I can say this day, right? It's the new executive order said that I'm not allowed to even determine or use any form of gender. And so it'll be interesting.
All right, let's move into this 660 million reasons why
Yeah.
The governor should sign Bill 11. She's already kind of
Yes.
said, like, no, it's
Oh,
not
hell.
happening.
She didn't say no, Bree. She said, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, hell no, no. Thou shalt not pass, to quote Gandalf.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the party, the release, I think is clear on its basis and its arguments, which is all the bill tries to do is to be more transparent in the use of federal funds as we move through a type of emergency, health emergencies in our island, and this only benefits the sitting governor. You know, no one is going to perceive that there's a misuse of funds from the Republican Party because we're in the minority, and so why not support a measure that will guarantee transparency of the use of those funds? Or there's no question about how the funds are being allocated, or if any political game is being played with them. So I see a lot of good. I think it would do a great amount of benefit to the governor, and I think she should sign it.
Yes, speaking of the governor, she's scheduled to deliver state of the island address on Monday. Will you be watching? And if so, what are you hoping, or what do you think the state of the island is? What do you think she's going to say?
Yeah, I think the state of the island will be an interesting message to listen. Unfortunately, I might be on the air at that time, and but here's my thing. Our economy is extremely fragile right now. We're surviving almost exclusively on federal funding coming to the island, and the taxes that are being generated locally from those federal funds. You know, all the employees that are being paid, all the unemployed individuals that are being paid by federal funds. we're using their revenues to float the government. The question is that will come to an end. Everybody in DC is looking at this and saying this is the last package that's going to be approved for additional funding after the COVID. After this is done, you need to survive on your own. So what are we going to do, and how are we going to spend those funds to make sure that we have an economy to come forward to look forward to? I think one of the initiatives that we've been talking about has been there's a new grant that's coming out for restaurants and bars that the federal government is putting out in this new bill. We want to make sure that all our local businesses take advantage of that grant in order to try to survive for a little bit. But in the meantime, if they require you to rehire the staff and the staff had nothing to do, then it would be great if we use some of the $661 million that are coming in to maybe feed those first responders and then buy the food from the different restaurants from Guam, right? And trying to provide them a reason to stay alive and to continue to survive. But if we go into that direction, we should do it in a transparent and open manner. Right now, you have all these people staying in the hotels for the quarantine, and there is, one vendor who's providing all the foods and the services. Well, why not try to spread that to the different restaurants in this island that are capable of providing those services and are willing to do it, so that when we reopen, we have something to show. I was so sad when Kichilingo closed. That was my favorite Chamorro restaurant in Guam after Lemay. I don't want to see Mezcla closing. I don't want to see Cafeteria closing, and because the tourists that come, the first thing they ask me is, Juan Carlos, how's the food in Guam? What do they like to eat there? And I just don't want to tell them we eat, Korean and Japanese and Filipino. I love showing them and taking them to local restaurants. And Peter Dueño has done an amazing job with the Culinary Institute here and getting all those young students to be excited about finding a career and be able to find jobs outside of Guam. Well, we need to make sure we keep those alive, and that's where I'm going. It would be wonderful if we could have this bipartisan discussions and meetings, not just with the congressman, but also with the governor and her staff. And we're open to that. The same with the legislature, because again, we got 661 million coming in, and then we have nothing.
Yeah, and Bill 11, there was some bipartisanship with that. I think Speaker Terlahi is one of the sponsors of that legislation. So are you saying then, just in a nutshell, what you're hoping to hear from the governor and what the Republicans are hoping to hear from the governor during her State of the Island address is, what is the plan for our economy going forward?
Yeah, I think a concrete plan on how we're going to move forward and how are we going to use the funds. Not we're going to diversify our economy. That's a great line, but we need substance to that. And if we're going to diversify it into manufacturing, what are we doing to get us to manufacture, and what are the biggest impediments for Guam presently towards that goal? So how do we address those? If we're going to redouble and what are we going to do to keep the industry that we presently have, which is the tourism industry? How are we going to make sure that we have an island in a situation that when those markets reopen, those tourists, the agents feel comfortable in recommending come to Guam? And that's what I would like to see. I went the other day through an airport, and when you're getting out of the airport, you have to go through the 3 automatic doors, set of automatic doors. And while you're going through 3, they're reading your temperature. So it's not like you have to stop or anything. It's just automatically going. If you don't pass, they shut down, and you're basically already quarantined, and then they can address your issues. Or are we still going to be doing the one guy with a gun looking at you when you get out of the plane? That sometimes meets the kid or meets somebody else. We need something that gives a comfort level to that tourist that's coming here, and gives a comfort level to our community to be willing to receive those tourists. the last thing you want is that you have a tourist here and no one wants to talk to him or go
Yeah.
near him.
Yeah, I think yeah, you're right. I think that was made really clear by the GVB when Jerry Perez was on with former Governor Carl Gutierrez, that there needs to be, aside from the economic plan, but just a plan, right, that they're working on with public health regarding tourism and tourists that are coming here, because how can you promote the island as a safe destination if you don't have a plan in place?
Yeah. And I think at the same time, it's an opportunity for this governor.
Yeah.
The federal government has limited a lot of the economic development in Guam through bad regulation and legislation through many, many years. And they've never gone to focus on it. And they're like, well, you're doing okay, you're doing well, it's not a priority. Now we're in a situation we said, if you want to go to manufacturing, you can say to a new administration, we need to look at Head Note 3A and that makes Guam goods. 70% of the value of a good that's developed in Guam needs to be actually made in Guam, while in the rest of the entire United States, it's only 30%. So most manufacturer will bypass Guam to manufacture in Hawaii or in other locations just because it's not competitively equal. Then we look at the free trade agreements between Japan, Korea, the Philippines, Australia, New Zealand. Guam is in none of this agreement. We were excluded of every single agreement that was done by the Obama administration in our region. Well, either we should be included or we should be granted the authority to enter into our own negotiations with those countries and then let the U.S. ratify. But if we keep sitting down and waiting for the federal government to come and find time to do our agreements, we're going to wait another 10, 20 years.
Juan, I wanted to ask in closing, right? So we had former Congresswoman Madeline Bordallo on earlier, and then
Big fan.
Senator Moylan. Are you saying that sarcastically? Are you saying that?
No, I don't think he was.
Okay.
No.
So anyway, Senator Moylan is saying it's not essential. Her work at the office is inconsequential. So we had her on, but I just wanted to get your take on it. The Washington Liaison Office, is it essential, not essential? Is it something that we need to eliminate altogether? Is there a duplication of effort with the Liaison Office and the Congressional Office? Just your thoughts as the Republican Party chair.
Yeah. Okay. So there is it depends from state to state. Most states have an office in Washington, D.C. Puerto Rico actually has an office with around 50 people, which I used to lead the government relation part of. You don't need a big office or big representation when you have a governor that aggressively is coming to D.C. and pursuing an agenda in Washington to make those changes and achieve. I haven't seen that under this administration. So absolutely, you would need to have an office in DC, because when there's a meeting at the White House or in an agency where they're doing regulations, or where there's a meeting in the Senate and they want to know what the position of the administration is, they can't get that from the congressman. Congressman can give you his position and his stand and where he feels the people of Guam are advocating for, but the elected governor should be able to express their own position. It should be done timely. A lot of the times, I would get a call and it's 2 hours, show up at the White House. We have a meeting to discuss what's going to happen in that case, with Puerto Rico. You can't do that from Guam. So there needs to be somebody. Jay Rojas did a wonderful job when he was there during the Calvo administration. Margaret Metcalf did a wonderful job, even so some Democrats would disagree with me. And I think Madeline Bordallo has a lot of respect that she's built through many, many, many years in Washington, D.C., but she needs direction. All of them need direction. They're not the governor. They need to follow the directives presented by the governor, and the governor needs to present an agenda and a strategy, and then that office will implement that strategy.
So they are essential.
They would be essential, yes.
So we have a little bit of a disagreement, a departure of opinion between you and Senator Moylan.
which is absolutely fine because that, we're not a one issue party. We can agree to disagree on a number of issues, but as long as in the majority we're together and in the hardcore basis, security, we was one of our main pillars, right? Big issue in Guam right now. Where should some of this $661 million, if it was, you're asking me, it should be in police officers and bringing back the security to our villages, right? Education of our children is the future, and we need to have a grade A education system in our island. Then you enter a business and economy. You need to make sure that you're a business-friendly environment so that you can attract business to the island and not depend only on the taxes of the middle class. So, you start looking at those pillars, that with most of them in the majority, and particularly with Senator Moylan. So I have no concerns that we might have one issue that we disagree.
Thank you, Juan Carlos. Good talk.
Sorry, my earpiece just died.
Well, we're done here, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you
Safe,
there?
yeah.
Yes, we're good. We're good.
Thank you. Safe travels.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure. Looking forward to seeing you all in person in the not so distant future.
Hopefully, right on. Juan Carlos Benitez, Republican
Take care.
Party Chair.